Hi again. I want to do a quick review here on two semi-automatic pistols. And the first one is, and both of these are going to be my carry guns. So the first one we're dealing with is a GLOCK 19, and this is the Generation 3 version. And this is in the finish, if you can see, it's kind of got that gunmetal gray slide. This is they call that NiB-X finish. So it's a really smooth and they say self-lubricating slide and barrel. So I mean, again, clean your guns, keep them oiled. And this gun definitely goes with me when the investigators and I work out there in the field. So you can tell this is a carry gun. It has a little bit of holster lint in it and stuff. So like I said, we keep them clean, but these are working guns on our end. And the next gun, this is more of when I'm out and not working. I'm dealing with the Sig Sauer M11 A1 pistol. I get a lot of people, they always ask me the differences and comparisons on these firearms, and you know, is one better than the other? I mean, both are excellent guns. So let's go ahead and talk about the primary differences with the Sig Sauer versus the GLOCK. Okay, and we're going to do some reviews. Let me go ahead and change our camera angle a little bit more. I'm going to see. Okay. First one, let's go ahead and talk about the GLOCK versus the Sig Sauer. GLOCK 19 or the M11 A1. Both are 9mm. And what we're going to deal with is the GLOCK pistol is a striker-fired handgun. Meaning, I pull the trigger, it's a consistent trigger pull every time. The Sig Sauer happens to be also a semi-automatic pistol, and we're dealing with a double action, single action. So in essence, what that means, our trigger pull for the first shot, again, now the gun is cocked with a hammer. If you cock the trigger, you see how the trigger springs forward. That first shot is going to deal with a longer trigger pull. So let's go ahead and decock again. You notice a big long trigger pull to the rear. There it is. After the first shot is fired, the gun is cocked, and now we have a much lighter trigger pull, and that's what they mean with single action. Okay, and we're going to get into the trigger pull weights here in a minute as well. Okay, so striker fired pistol versus double action, single action. It's a preference thing and it's a training thing. I am very proficient with both actions. It does not really matter. I've shot pretty much GLOCK and SIGs my whole 20 plus years. So here we go. The weight of the guns. The GLOCK weighs unloaded 23.65 ounces, so a little bit over a pound and a half. The Sig Sauer with an unloaded magazine weighs a total of 32 ounces. Now, a loaded GLOCK pistol with a loaded magazine is going to be right at 30.18 ounces. So really, a loaded GLOCK versus a loaded SIG, they're really not that much of a weight difference. A lot of people say, oh, the GLOCK is much lighter. Not really. The M11 versus the GLOCK 19, not that much of a difference. When I carry them, I don't notice much of a difference anyway. All right, let's talk about the overall length of the handguns. Obviously on this one too, this one has a rail, so I have a light on it, surefire light. The overall length of these handguns, let's take a look at that. The GLOCK, we're dealing with an overall length on the GLOCK 19, 7.36 inches, and the Sig Sauer M11 is right at 7.1 inches. And you can clearly tell at that point here that the SIG is a bit shorter than the GLOCK. Okay. What about the height of the guns? Obviously here we're going to have the Sig Sauer winning out over height. The height on the GLOCK pistol is going to be 4.99 inches. You can see that. 4.99 on the GLOCK and 5.4 inches on the SIG. Okay, there we go. There's our height difference. GLOCK up front, Sig Sauer in the back. And typically some people will say in a concealed carry gun, really the grip is going to be what is going to protrude, what's going to be your making of your printing the firearm, or making you out that, hey, I'm carrying a gun because you're printing. And again, that's just proper holster selection and proper dress code. So you're going to know how to properly conceal your gun. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. Okay, what about the width? Obviously now the Glock is going to win out on this one. When we talk about the width of these two pistols, the Glock comes in at 1.18 inches. The Sig Sauer is right at 1.5 inches. You can clearly tell here, I don't know if you can see on camera, but the gun is quite a bit thicker for the Sig Sauer. Okay. Barrel length. The Glock barrel is 4.01 inches, and on the Sig Sauer it's 3.9 inches. Shouldn't be that big of a deal if you're applying your fundamentals. A lot of people say, oh, a longer barrel is going to be better for you. Yeah, these are self-defense guns. You're typically going to engage with these within probably 10 yards or about 30 feet. So, I mean, not that big of a deal. Barrel length, if you're applying your proper sight alignment and trigger control, you should be able to do what you need to do. Now, let's talk about triggers. This is one of the big differences between the two pistols. So the Glock, like I said, is a striker-fired pistol. What I'm dealing with, let's go ahead and check it again. We are unloaded, of course. The Glock pistol and the Glock trigger is a 5.5 pound trigger pull weight. It is a consistent trigger pull every time. Okay, so that's one thing you're always going to get used to. Same trigger pull. And as I showed you on the Sig M11, or really most of the Sig Sauer double action, single action pistols, the first shot comes out in double action. Now watch the hammer. As I make my first trigger pull, it's cocking the hammer back. This is what we call double action, cocking and then releasing the hammer. Okay, I let off, you hear the click, the reset. Now the hammer is cocked, and that'll automatically happen on your second shot. And now I take my second shot, and it's a much lighter and much less of a travel on the trigger pull. So the weight now goes to 4.5 pounds for that second shot. My first trigger pull weight is going to be at a total of about 10 pounds on this pistol. So that's that double action, and then I go into a 4.4 pounds on that semi-auto single action trigger pull. A lot of people are going to be like, well, I just can't get used to that first trigger pull. Well, train more, shoot more. That first shot, you're going to really come off and make a decisive effort and a decision that I am pulling the trigger. So there is no accident. This isn't a 3-pound trigger that I may mistakenly come off and pull a shot when I didn't mean to shoot. I mean, you're going to come on this trigger at 10 pounds and press, be deliberate, and the shot goes. Now, here's the cool thing. Once our first shot went, now we assume we could be in a gunfight. Now we're going to have that lighter trigger pull for more accurate shots and faster follow-up shots, because we're dealing with that 4.5 pound trigger pull. Okay, so the nice thing on the Sig Sauer as well, and again, safety in mind, there is no safety in this except, you know, keeping your finger off the trigger. And if my hammer is cocked, you see here they have this decocking lever. Basically just press it straight down and it sends the hammer forward again. Okay, I really do like that feature. Trigger travel. Let's talk about here what we're going to deal with on the Glock pistol. And obviously it's not really available for the Sig because we've got two travels. One is going to be that double action, the long travel, and then we have the single action trigger pull, which is going to be much less of a travel. And on the Glock, we've got about a 1/2 inch, 0.48, 0.49 on the travel of the trigger until the shot breaks. It's not really that far, and with training, you're going to understand exactly where that breaks. Let's talk about magazine capacity. Again, both guns are very, very similar, and both carry 15 rounds in them. So that's what we have, 15 round magazines in each. And that's not bad. In a previous video I talked about, you know, always carrying a spare magazine on you, so you've got, what, 30 rounds in your handguns. One of the biggest features right out of the gate with the Glock and the Sig Sauer pistol are going to be obviously your sights. And here you can see the Sig Sauer versus the Glock. Now, on all Glocks, I put factory aftermarket Trijicon night sights in it. The Sigs come with a nice aftermarket night sight, which is the Sig Light sight. The finish, both have excellent finish. Like I said, this is the NiB-X finish, which is very corrosive resistant, and this one also has a really good nitron coating and has the phosphate internal, so this gun will hold up under adverse conditions. And finally, let's talk about price. The Glock 19 I've seen go for anywhere from $499 to $600, and the M11 A1 can be from $820 to at manufacturer suggested retail at almost $1,150. I picked up this one for about $980. And like I said, this gun has served me well over the last few years, and this one obviously for the last 4 or 5 years too has been with me as an investigator out in carry, and it's been all over, you know, in a concealed carry mode for us. So both excellent guns, both are my personal concealed carry handguns. Thanks for watching.